What's going on, everybody? We have to talk about Cleanspark's mining update. I also want to briefly talk about my thoughts on earnings. As we expected, Q3 was an iffy quarter, and we got a bit of a negative reaction on earnings. The good thing is we are seeing some recovery today after a weak start to the day. We have some Bitcoin miners like BitDeer running on recent news of convertible notes, kind of a similar strategy to MicroStrategy and Marathon. I think the ones that announce this will see pumps shortly after. But anyways, we'll talk about the Bitcoin mining update, a little bit of Cleanspark's earnings. I'll leave the link down below for you to listen to the call. I highly recommend it. For those of you wondering if Cleanspark is getting into AI anytime soon, there will be your answer in the call. The answer is no. But that's okay because we have other Bitcoin miners for that regard, such as BT, and IRIN. Now looking at Cleanspark's expected upcoming Q4, they are expecting an unprofitable quarter, which personally surprises me. They're expecting a record all-time revenue of 130 million, which is nearly double what they got a year ago, and about $40 million in revenue growth versus what they just reported on their earnings yesterday. So after the halving went and cut rewards, we are finally getting back to these Bitcoin miners seeing revenue grow again, and soon after comes the profitability. I'm personally surprised they aren't expecting it for Q4 based on how much Bitcoin has moved. Looking at Cleanspark's chart, I'm still watching this pattern. I do think at some point we will break this descending trend, and that is when we first come to take out the psychological 20 and then attempt our 25 cycle top. One thing that I want to mention to you guys and just let you be aware of is that Cleanspark last cycle back in 2021 at its top, it topped out early in the year. It did not top out back when Bitcoin topped out later in 2021. It actually topped out in early 2021. Keep that in mind going into 2025. Cleanspark, when it broke in December, it was still under its range. Consider where we are now, right? Under this $25 range. Once we break this $25, I think we are going to see what we saw last cycle. Once we broke $15 last cycle, at the very end of December, we had an insane rally and we did about a 4x all the way to the 40s. You could blame a lot of this on the money printing, a lot of this on everyone being at home, bored, nothing to do but try to gamble on some stocks. Be that as it may, if we do see something similar, if we see Cleanspark at the end of December break out of this pattern, start taking out 25, if we see it quickly run towards $50 by June to February of 2025, I think that will be a prime time to actually take some profits, if not get out completely following the cycle. I think things might play out differently personally, but if we see something similar where we just have a crazy like 3 or 4x from here in literally 2 months, I think that is a great indicator to sell. And combine that with some massive bearish divergences, and you'll be ready to take profits when the opportunities allow. Look at back last cycle. We saw a bearish divergence. The RSI started cooling down. While the price was still rising, there was an imbalance here. There was a divergence. The RSI was losing its momentum while the price was still rising. This was a sign that we were soon to top out. And sure enough, we did in fact top out. Cleanspark reattempted those prices in February, basically reached nearly the same point, and then just sold off throughout the rest of 2021. Before a little end of year run that wasn't anything compared to earlier in that year. So keep that in mind going into 2025. If we see a really parabolic January, if we see things running with no end in sight, that is a prime time to at the very least, take some profits. Especially those of you that were buying back in 2022. Those of you that were buying back in 2023 when Cleanspark was $4. If we do get a huge spike in December, in January, that's not something I would necessarily chase. And my opinion is that this is the last buying opportunity. And I know you've heard me say this before, but this isn't as good of a buying opportunity as we have seen in the past. This is nothing like buying back in August. We are not going to see that again. We are not going to see it in an opportunity for Cleanspark under $10. Those were the opportunities. This is the next opportunity while it's in the low teens. This is the next opportunity before it goes over $20. Feel free to verify this in 3 to 6 months and see if I'm right or wrong. But anyways, before we get way sidetracked, their hash rate has surpassed 33.5 exahash. They are on track for 37 exahash to end the year. And I will definitely leave this down below for you guys. But here's a perfect segue into some comments from earnings in the Q&A, and then we'll get back to the mining update. So as we continue focusing on scale in fiscal year 2025 and beyond, we will develop the remaining hundreds of megawatts in the near-term pipeline while always staying opportunistic. What they mean by staying opportunistic is looking for more land to build on. Is not necessarily buying overpriced machines as we get later in the bull cycle. They already have machines that are at a predetermined price, while others are going to be chasing more and more expensive machines. Cleanspark has machines secured all the way up to the 60 exahash range. And that's one thing I like about Cleanspark. They seem to understand the 4-year cycle. They know this is the time to hodl their Bitcoin. This is not the time to acquire expensive Bitcoin miners like others are. This is the time to look for land. They also said in their earnings call that they want to utilize Bitcoin and make a yield off of it. Does that mean issuing convertible notes similar to MicroStrategy and using Bitcoin as Collateral? Perhaps. We will probably see very soon. Now, before we look over their Bitcoin mining update numbers, I did want to bring up that their cash balance is solid with 122 million in cash. They have $509 million in Bitcoin, and their total mining assets, which includes prepaid deposits for upcoming miners and currently deployed miners, they have 902 million in that regard. Total assets of $2 billion with $66 million of loans. Cleanspark's market cap right now is $3.67 billion. So their assets alone command a majority of that market cap they're currently at. I believe their market cap is set to rise substantially. One thing the market is waiting for is seeing the Bitcoin miners getting towards profitability. The general theme we've been seeing from these Bitcoin miners is an initial negative reaction on news of unprofitability still, and then we see earnings get digested and typically things start recovering from there. I do think we're going to see similar from Cleanspark, and I do personally think we're going to get some price targets from the likes of potentially Cantor Fitzgerald and others that were involved in Cleanspark's Q&A. I was personally impressed with the Q&A, but let me know what you guys think. Now, looking at their Bitcoin mining update, our teams have been relentlessly executing, making progress towards our year-end hash rate goal of 37 exahash while improving our efficiency. 2 turnkey Bitcoin mining sites near Clinton have been completed and are expected to be fully operational, providing an extra 1 exahash by the end of the week. We expect expansion projects in Tennessee to go live by mid-month. That, paired with our ongoing upgrades, will bring us over our year-end target of 37 exahash per second. We have our eyes on 2025, and our plan is to continue growing beyond 50 exahash in the coming quarters. They mined 622 Bitcoin in December. For the year, that totals 6,356 mined. They're currently holding 9,297 Bitcoin. They sold 26 Bitcoin in November, more than normal, but still very small amount. They have a deployed fleet of nearly 200,000 Bitcoin machines, 195,059 to be exact. Their month-end fleet efficiency is a 19 joules per terahash. They got under that 20 joules per terahash. Efficiency is key. Month-end operating hash rate of 33.7 exahash per second. They had an average of 20.72 Bitcoin mined daily, a single high of 21.65 in a day, and they sold 26.11 Bitcoin at a price of around 84,000 per Bitcoin. That's not it. We also have some operational updates, but it was kind of mentioned in that intro. But anyways, Clinton, Mississippi, 2 Bitcoin mining sites that were delivered turnkey ready are energized as of December 2. Once they complete installation this week, the sites will house S21 Pros with an expected combined hash rate of 1 exahash that is coming on very soon. The construction of 2 immersion-cooled Bitcoin mining data centers in Cheyenne, Wyoming is also underway. The connection of high-line voltage from the substation is complete. Immersion cooling equipment is being delivered and will continue this month. Each site will house the latest generation S21s, adding an estimated 5 exahash in total. This is all coming up before the year ends. This is coming up very soon here. I am personally very confident that the time to exit Cleanspark will be at some point in 2025. And in my opinion, if you want Cleanspark under $15, under $20, these are the last opportunities. You don't want to be chasing in 2025. And like I said, I do think the bottom was in August for Bitcoin. Bitcoin went to 49K. A lot of the Bitcoin miners saw their lows around August, around the same time frame. I don't think we're going back down there. This is the next best opportunity, besides if you had a time machine and you could either zoom back 2 months or back into 2022, 2023. These are the next best opportunities to take advantage of the Bitcoin miners you like. It doesn't have to be Cleanspark, it could be any of them. And also, let's end this on some interesting Blackrock news. We knew this was coming. We knew it was just a matter of time, but it is here before the year ended. Blackrock's Bitcoin ETF tops 500,000 Bitcoin holdings, worth $48 billion. And IBIT now holds 2.3% of all the Bitcoin. Before you know it, they will hold 10% of the Bitcoin in their fund. And the Bitcoin ETFs are closing in on Satoshi himself's amount of Bitcoin. They are literally potentially weeks away from surpassing Satoshi. I think it will come before the year ends, and that could be another catalyst that sends Bitcoin higher. I'd rather have the biggest holder of Bitcoin being these spot ETFs personally than to be some unknown entity. Any Satoshi news, any articles talking about Satoshi, any HBO documentaries talking about Satoshi, they will have less and less sway as the holdings of Satoshi get brought down and down and down in terms of the top placement. We are soon seeing these spot ETFs take over, and while this does mean less decentralization over time, this was a necessary evil for Bitcoin to progress, for Bitcoin to hit that mass adoption, for institutions to get involved, for institutions to actually turn their head and look at Bitcoin. In the end, follow the cycle for these Bitcoin miners, for Bitcoin for the alts, and you'll do perfectly fine. As long as you follow the Bitcoin 4-year cycle and follow M2 global money supply, you'll see that this Bitcoin bull run is far from over. But thanks as always for watching. How are you feeling about Cleanspark's mining update and their earnings? What did you get out of the call? I know there's a lot of people with their bags packed, ready for that next run. I do believe that if history is any indicator, things are about to get crazy. Just like when things are bad, you want to buy. When things get really good, when things seem so euphoric, that is our cue to start packing our bags. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.